The Stranger from the Wreck, HFY Sci-Fi, third person, simple English, approximately 800 words. The desert moon was silent, no wind, no life. Just dust, rocks, and heat. Cale had lived alone for many years, working as a mechanic in the wasteland. His home was a small underground bunker, hidden between broken cliffs. He repaired old machines, cleaned water from the sand, and spoke to no one. That night, he was fixing an old drone when he saw the light, a flash blue and bright cut across the sky. It fell fast, leaving a burning trail behind that. Cale stood up. Not a star, he said quietly. The light crashed into the valley below. Dust rose like smoke, and the ground shook slightly. Cale grabbed his bag, slung his rifle over his shoulder, and ran toward the crash. It took him 20 minutes to reach it. He moved down the slope, heart beating fast. He didn't know what to expect. Pirate ship, old escape pod, dangerous tech. But what he found surprised him. A small alien vessel, half buried in the sand. Its metal was dark and curved like glass. Parts of it were glowing faintly. Sparks flew from a cracked engine, and there near the broken door was someone moving. Cale raised his rifle. Stop. Don't move. The figure collapsed to the ground. It was a girl, or at least something like one. Her skin was pale blue. Her hair was silver white, falling over her face, and her body was covered in a suit of soft armor that was torn and burning. Cale stepped closer. She was breathing, but barely. He knelt down, checked her pulse. Still alive. He looked around the wreck. No other movement, no signal beacons, no enemies. Looks like you're alone, he muttered. She opened her eyes. They were glowing violet. Beautiful, but filled with fear. Then, with a trembling hand, she pulled something from her chest, a small glowing crystal wrapped in fabric, and tried to hide it. Cale frowned. What's that? She didn't answer. Her lips moved, but the words weren't. In English. He couldn't understand her language, but he saw the meaning in her eyes. Please, don't take it. Cale had a choice. He could leave her here, walk away, let her die, and maybe sell the ship parts later. Or he could help. He sighed. You picked the wrong moon to crash on, alien girl, he whispered. Then he picked her up. Was light like air. Her skin was warm and glowing where the crystal had touched it. Cale placed the crystal back in her arms and carried her away from the wreck, toward his bunker. Back at his underground shelter, Cale laid her gently on the medical table. His small AI scanner began scanning her body. Strange results flashed on the screen. Unknown DNA, healing cells, active tech inside her skin. She was no normal alien. He cleaned her wounds, used gel to stop the bleeding, and covered her in a thermal blanket. The crystal she held began to pulse softly, like it was alive. Hours passed. Cale sat nearby, watching. Who are you? He asked, even though she was asleep. And what are you running from? That night, as the moonlight filtered through the cracks above, she stirred. Cale was half asleep when he heard a whisper. Soft, quiet, broken. She opened her eyes, looked at him, and said something in a low voice. He couldn't understand the words, but her tone was full of pain and warning. She tried to sit up, pointing weakly at the door. Then she said one word in clear English. Danger. Cale stood up, alert. What kind of danger? But she had fallen back into sleep, holding the crystal tight against her chest. Outside, far away in the desert, something moved under the sand. Metal claws. Red lights. A tracker. The kind used by hunters. The kind that never stopped. It had found the wreck. And now, it was looking for her. The message in her blood. HFY Sci-Fi. Simple English. Approximately 800 words. The alien girl was still sleeping. Cale sat at his table, staring at the glowing crystal she clutched in her hands. It hadn't stopped pulsing since he brought her in. Sometimes it glowed blue, sometimes soft gold, almost like it was breathing. He tapped his scanner. Still no match. Her DNA was unknown. Her suit was made from materials Earth had never seen. Even the small wounds on her arms were healing faster than any human ever could. Cale whispered, "What are you?" And suddenly, the scanner beeped, loud. Cale rushed to the table. One of her wounds had opened slightly, but instead of red blood, her blood glowed silver, and it moved, not like liquid, but like tiny, crawling light. The silver flowed out in a line, and then twisted into shapes, dot symbols, dot writing. Cale stepped back, shocked. Her blood was drawing something on the table. A circle, a line through it. Then small dots and angles. It wasn't random. It was a message. Cale took pictures. His AI tried to translate, but nothing matched. Then he had an idea. He scanned the pattern and compared it to star maps. It matched. Not Earth system, but a system far beyond the human colonies. And one planet was blinking red. Cale stared at it. "She's warning me," he whispered. "Something is coming." A few hours later, she woke up again. Cale was ready this time. He brought her water, tried to speak slowly. "Do you understand me?" She nodded weakly, then placed her hand on her chest and said, "Vela," her name. Cale smiled a little. "I'm Cale," she repeated it, soft and clumsy. "K-L." Then she pointed at the star map he had printed. Cale leaned closer. "That's where you're from?" Vela shook her head. She pointed at the blinking red planet. Then at herself. Then at the crystal. Cale's eyes widened. "You're not just from there. You escaped from there." That night, while she slept again, Cale couldn't rest. He replayed the moment her blood formed symbols. That wasn't normal. It was biotech living code inside her veins. And the crystal? It wasn't just something she protected. It was connected to her somehow. She was a carrier of something far more important. And now she was here, on Earth's edge, with no one but him. Outside, far beyond the valley, the desert sand began to shift. A sleek, four-legged machine crawled across the rocks. Its red eyes scanned the ground, clicking and beeping softly. It reached the crash site, sniffed the air, then turned its head toward Cale's bunker. It had locked on. The next morning, Cale found Vela awake and trying to stand. She was weak, but she gripped the table with one hand. The crystal hovered near her shoulder, floating, glowing, protecting her like a small living drone. Cale helped her sit. He poured some soup into a bowl and handed it to her. She took it with both hands and looked at him. Then said softly, "You? Not like others." Cale blinked. "You mean other humans?" She nodded. "Others shoot. You help." He smiled a little. "I guess I'm not the usual type." Then she said something unexpected. "They come soon?" Cale froze. "You mean the ones chasing you?" She nodded once, then slowly touched his arm. "If I gone, you must burn this." She reached under her armor and handed him a second crystal. This one was black, cold, and heavy. Cale took it carefully. "What is it?" she whispered. "End or beginning?" Then she said no more. That night, Cale stood outside, holding both crystals in his hands. One glowed with life. The other felt like death. Vela had arrived from a world he didn't understand, with secrets he couldn't explain. But something inside him had changed. She was no longer just a crash survivor. She was a message, a warning, and someone far away didn't want that message to survive. Under the moonlight, Cale looked at the stars and whispered, "Whatever you're hiding, Vela, I'm in it now." But in the dark hills behind him, a red light blinked. The hunter had found their location. And this time, it wouldn't wait. The bond neither chose HFY sci-fi, simple English. Approximately 800 words. Cale couldn't sleep. He sat outside his bunker, watching the stars. One hand rested on the rifle beside him. The other held the glowing crystal Vela had carried since the crash. It pulsed softly, like it had a heartbeat. Inside. Vela slept on a cot near the heat lamp. The healing gel had sealed most of her wounds. Her silver-white hair fell across her eyes, and her breathing was calm. But Cale couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. If I gone, you burn this. He didn't know what the crystal truly was. But he knew one thing, it was worth dying for. In the morning, he woke up to a strange sound. Laughter. Soft. Tired. Awkward. It was Vela. She stood near the table, holding one of Cale's old toolkits. She had opened it and pulled out something. Strange, a cracked coffee mug with a picture of a cat. She held it up. This weapon? Cale blinked, then smiled. No, that's just a cup. She tilted her head, confused. He walked over and showed her how to drink from it. She tried, spilled a little, laughed again. That laugh, it did something to him. She wasn't just an alien now. She was someone trying to live. Over the next few days, she learned quickly. Cale taught her words, names of tools, simple questions. She was smarter than anyone he had ever met, but she also had sadness in her eyes. One night, while fixing a power cell together, she touched his hand by accident. She froze, then whispered, sorry. Cale looked at her. You don't need to say sorry. Not for that. She nodded slowly, then said, on my world? No one touches unless bonded. Cale didn't know what to say. So he said nothing. But his heart beat faster. Later that night, Vela sat outside the bunker, staring at the stars. Cale joined her. They sat in silence for a long time. Then she asked softly, you have family? Cale shook his head. Not anymore. War took them, long ago. She looked at him with quiet eyes. Me too. He looked at her. Why did you come here? Vela hesitated. Then she held out her hand and drew a symbol in the dirt. The same one her blood had made before. Cale recognized it. That's the enemy? She nodded, then pointed at the stars. They build machines. They make war with code. They want to erase. He frowned. Erase what? She placed a hand on her chest. Feelings, choice, bonds. Cale realized what she meant. Her people were turning into something cold, something without love or mercy. And she had run. Inside. Cale studied the black crystal she had given him. He connected it to his old scanner. For a moment, it didn't respond. Then a small light appeared on the screen. A file. Locked. Hidden. He tapped it. A message. Played garbled, but one phrase was clear. If she falls into their hands, Earth will burn next. Cale stood up, heart racing. They weren't just chasing her. They were chasing the only one who could stop them. That night, as he rechecked the bunker's defenses, Vela came to him. She was holding something in her hand, a ring made from scrap, metal and the glowing crystal's casing. She offered it to him. He looked at her, confused. What's this? She smiled gently. Not marriage, not promise, just memory. Cale took it slowly. You made this? She nodded. So you don't forget when I go. He stared at the small ring. You're not going anywhere. Vela's eyes shimmered. You don't get to choose for me, Cale. He stepped closer. No, but I choose to stay with you. Suddenly, boom. The lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cale ran to the monitors. Outside. The red light was back. moving fast. A hunter dot, it had found them. Vela stepped beside him. Her face was calm. Then she said something in her language, and the glowing crystal on the table began to hum. Kyle looked at her. You planned for this? She nodded dot and whispered, We fight together, or we both fall. The night was no longer silent. The ground shook as something large moved just beyond the valley. Kale's motion sensors blinked red. Dust poured from the ceiling. His bunker's alarm silent for years screamed to life. They had come. Kale ran to the main screen. A black dot appeared, moving fast. The heat signatures were clear. Not human. Not friendly. He turned to Vela. She was already standing, gripping the edge of the table. It's them, he said. She didn't ask how he knew. She just nodded and whispered, One. Scout, more come. Kale rushed to the weapon locker. It was old, full of half-broken gear from the last war. But he had one working turret, a few grenades, and his rifle heavy, custom, slow to aim, but deadly. Vela stepped beside him. She touched her belt. A blue light glowed, and her armor unfolded, wrapping around her arms and legs like water. Kale stared. That's new. She looked at him. Now you see why they fear me. Outside, a sound filled the night claws against metal, moving over stone. The sound of a tracker, and it was right outside their door. Kale moved to the defense panel. We hold it off here. Buy time, then we run. Vela placed her hand over his. We fight, but we do not run. He looked at her, surprised. She said, If they take me, they erase everything, even this planet. Then the door shook boom. Again, and again, sparks flew. The door cracked. Kale pointed his rifle. Get behind cover. But Vela stepped forward instead. She lifted her hand, and the glowing crystal beside her floated up. Forming a shield of light. The door exploded. Smoke filled the room, and through it walked a tall machine with black armor, glowing red eyes, and sharp claws. It scanned the room, then locked on Vela. A deep, metallic voice growled, Return the carrier. Kale fired first. His bullet hit the machine's shoulder, throwing sparks. It turned, now targeting him. Vela raised her hand. Her shield blocked its first strike. Then she moved faster than Kale thought possible. Her energy blade flashed from her wrist. She struck the machine's legate, staggered, roaring with static. Kale ducked behind the table, reloading. Vela. Right side. She flipped, spun, landed beside the machine, and drove her blade into its chest. The machine screamed. But it wasn't finished. It grabbed her arm, twisted, and threw her into the wall. Kale shouted, No! He charged with his rifle, firing shot after shot. 2 bullets hit. One went deep. The machine turned to him, eyes burning hot, and raised its claw. Kale stood his ground. But before it struck, Vela jumped back in, her armor flaring with light. She threw something. The black crystal. It hit the machine's chest and melted into it. The machine froze. Then shook. Then screamed, glitching, twitching before collapsing to the floor, completely shut down. Smoke rose from its joints. Silence. Kale ran to her. Are you hurt? She groaned, nodding weakly. Armor cracked. Not bad. He helped her sit down. They both looked at the dead machine. Kale asked, What did you do, dude? She touched his chest. Gave it. A virus. The virus they fear. He stared at her. You're not just running. You're their worst nightmare. She nodded once. But only if I stay alive. Kale turned to the screen. 3 more dots now. Closer. Bigger. And we're not done yet. Vela stood, cracked her neck, and pulled the energy blade from her armor. No, we are just starting. That night, Kale and Vela worked fast. They set traps, reinforced the bunker doors, Charge all weapons. Kale even connected the turret to a motion sensor. It wasn't much, but for the first time in years, Kale wasn't alone. He was fighting for something, and maybe for someone. Far above the moon's surface, a larger ship drifted through the clouds. Inside, dark figures watched the tracker's signal go dark. One turned to the others and spoke. She has bonded with the human. Another replied, then kill them both before it spreads. The sun was rising. Kale stood at the edge of his bunker, holding his rifle. His heart beat slow but strong. The desert air was dry. Silent. Too silent. Inside, Vela checked the last. Trap a burst mine linked to motion sensor. She walked to him, her armor glowing softly. They are close. Kale nodded. 3 heat signatures, closing in fast. He looked at her. You can still run. I'll hold them off. Vela stepped closer, placed a hand on his chest. Not running again. They waited. Then the sky split. 3 black ships screamed through the clouds, fast, sharp each. One dropped something heavy. They landed with thunder. 3 elite hunters, taller, stronger, deadlier than the last. Their armor was red and silver, and their claws were sharp as blades. One of them spoke with a voice that echoed like static. Give us the carrier, or die with her. Kale stepped forward. I've died once already. I just got better. Vela smiled beside him. Together, the first hunter charged. Kale fired 1 shot, 2 shots, then rolled behind cover. The second hunter leapt over the wall, trying to strike him from behind. But Vela met it midair, her blade flashing. Sparks flew. The third hunter moved around the traps, but stepped on a buried charge. Boom! The mine exploded, throwing it into a metal wall. Damaged, but not dead, Kale yelled. They're learning. Fast, Vela replied. Then we finish faster. The fight was brutal. Kale moved with his rifle like it was an extension of his mind. He used walls, smoke, and wires. Hit, hide, hit again. Vela was a storm spinning, leaping, striking. Her armor lit up like lightning. They fought like they were one mind, but the hunters kept coming. Then the lead hunter grabbed Kale, lifted him off the ground. Squeezed. Kale gasped, trying to breathe. Vela screamed and threw her blade, but it bounced off the hunter's shoulder. The hunter growled. He is nothing. But Kale looked it in the eye and whispered, Then why are you afraid of what I protect? He smiled. Behind the hunter, a backup turret activated. Boom, dash, boom, dash, boom. The hunter fell. Kale dropped to the floor. Coughing. Vela ran to him. You hurt? He grinned. Little bit. She smiled. Still alive? Still annoying, he said. Only 1 hunter remained broken, but not beaten. It crawled forward, hissing. Vela pulled the black crystal from her belt. Kale said, That'll destroy you if you use it again. She nodded. I know. Then she turned to Kale. Before I go, can I ask you something? His heart stopped. She had said it so softly, but with meaning. He looked into her glowing violet eyes. Anything, she whispered, if I don't come back, will you forget me? Kale stood up, took her hand, and placed the metal ring she gave him back on her finger. Never. Then she kissed his forehead and ran into the light. The sky turned blue with it. Power. The hunter screamed. Then silence. The crystal flashed, then broke into 1,000 lights. Kale ran forward. Vela! He found her lying on the ground. Alive but weak. Her armor cracked. The glow gone. She looked at him and smiled weakly. I stayed. For you. Kale picked her up. Held her tight, and whispered, You don't leave now. Not without me. That night, the last ship left the sky. The danger was over, but something new had begun. What we saved, HFY Sci-Fi. Simple English, approximately 800 words. Genre, human aliens. Bond, emotional ending. Survival, hope the fire in the sky was gone. No more red lights. No more machines. The desert was quiet again, just wind and broken stone. Cale stood at the edge of the valley, watching the sunrise. His rifle was strapped to his back, but he didn't need it anymore. Inside the bunker, Vela slept peacefully. Alive. She had been unconscious for 2 days. Cale never left her side. He gave her water, fixed her armor, even cleaned the small crystal fragments left from the weapon she used. Her pulse was weak at first, but steady. Her breathing soft. She had burned all her energy to destroy the final hunter. She saved him. She saved Earth. When she finally opened her eyes, Cale was sitting beside her, holding the metal ring she once gave him. She blinked slowly. You stayed. He smiled. Told you I would. Her hand reached for his, weak but warm. Then she whispered, Is it over? Cale nodded. For now. She closed her eyes again, and a single tear slid down her cheek. Not from pain, not from peace. Over the next week, she grew stronger. Her armor repaired itself slowly, glowing again. She walked around the bunker with quiet wonder, touching old tools, reading labels, learning Earth's language better every day. One night, Cale found her sitting under the stars, humming a soft melody. He sat next to her. That song, From Your World? She nodded. My mother sang it when I was small. He said nothing, just listened. Vela turned to him and asked, Why did you help me, Cale? At the crash? He looked at her. Then looked away. At first, I didn't know, but now I think maybe I was the one who needed saving. She gently leaned against him. You are strange. Cale laughed. You're not. The first to say that. The next day, Vela stood at the edge of the bunker. Her ship, what was left of it, had been rebuilt enough for one final journey. The core crystal had healed. It could take her home. She turned to Cale. I must go back. They need to know what we learned. Cale nodded. I figured. She looked down. But I don't want to leave this. Bond. He stepped forward, took her hand. You're not leaving it. You're taking it with you. She smiled. Then she opened a small panel in the ship's side and pulled something out. A badge, glowing faint blue. She placed it in his hand. This connects us. Always. Cale didn't understand how it worked, but he felt it warm, alive. Then she did something he didn't expect. She leaned close and whispered, Can I ask you something before I go? Cale's heart froze. The same words she once said, when he thought he'd lose her forever. He looked into her eyes. Yes. She asked, Will you wait for me? Cale didn't hesitate. He took the badge, placed it on his chest. And smiled. I already am. The ship rose slowly, light wrapping around it. Cale stood outside, hand raised, wind brushing his face. She looked down at him one last time. Then whispered something only he could hear. Through the badge, through the bond. Thank you. For saving more than my life. The ship vanished into the sky. Cale stood alone, but this time he didn't feel empty. He walked back into the bunker, sat at his table, and looked at the stars. Waiting. But not alone. The end.